It was a death that shocked and saddened our community. Now the man accused of killing a San Diego police officer is facing a capital murder trial. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. On the witness stand today, the other officer who was also shot but survived. The judge ordered the media not to show his face. Tonight, News 8's Steve Fiorina brings us his emotional testimony before the jury.
5 years after the killing of one San Diego police officer and the wounding of another, trial is underway with emotional key testimony from the officer who survived. The defense argument is that defendant Jesse Gomez didn't realize they were police pulling up next to him in a gang-infested neighborhood in Shelltown near 38th Street. But the gang suppression team members were in full uniform in a marked car. Officer Wade Irwin testified he got out of the patrol car and asked, "Hey, do you live in the area?"
Immediately, he raises his hand and shoots me in the throat.
Officer Irwin slid to the pavement against the rear tire. The gunman, silent.
He did not say anything, but I recall distinctly that he had an angry, hateful look on his face.
A hail of bullets fired then into the squad car, mortally wounding Officer Jonathan J.D. de Guzman, who had been driving.
I was concerned for my safety. I immediately began thinking about my 18-month-old daughter. Started thinking about my wife. Started thinking about my family. I believed at that time that if the defendant saw that I was alive, that I would be executed.
He said he heard his partner moaning as the gunman kept firing.
I reach across with my right hand across my body, and I began to shoot at the defendant.
He testified that he thought he hit the man, who then ran off. Officer Irwin radioed for help and soon heard sirens on the way. His body-worn camera captured some of the assistance given him as he lay on the asphalt.
You're gonna be good, dude.
In court, he reflected on that moment.
It's the best feeling in the world to know that my fellow officers and brothers were there to be with me and take care of me and provide me aid.
He spent 23 days in the hospital, 8 months off duty. His partner died. J.D. de Guzman was given a hero's burial. And Irwin picked defendant Jesse Gomez out of a lineup, the man who was arrested that night in a nearby ravine. The trial is expected to last several weeks. And if Gomez is convicted of first-degree murder with special circumstances, the jury, the same jury, would then be asked to consider whether to recommend the death penalty. Steve Fiorina, News 8.
All right, Steve, thanks. It caused backups and delays for miles through the afternoon, but traffic is moving once again tonight after a small plane landed right there on Interstate 5 and caused a huge mess on the freeway.
The CHP says the pilot of the single-engine Piper PA-32 touched down on the southbound side of Interstate 5 near Via della Valle just after noon today. They got the plane off the freeway around 4.
A long 4 hours there. News 8's Abby Alford shares reaction from a woman who says she is grateful to be alive.
This is the single-engine plane that landed on southbound Interstate 5 just south of Via della Valle. It's an incredible landing and amazing that no one was seriously injured. While vacationing in San Diego for their wedding anniversary, Dane and Sarah Trebet were headed to the beach on southbound Interstate 5 south of Via della Valle.
We were just talking and then all of a sudden just like something hit the car so hard and just glass shattered everywhere all around us.
She looked up and saw it was this single-engine Piper PA-32 that hit their car and landed on the freeway.
I was just like, what the heck just happened to us? And I just looked over to make sure he was okay.
Traffic came to a halt, straining hundreds of drivers, including Steve Yai, who needed to pick up his kids in Chula Vista.
Why did the pilot land on the freeway? There's all this other space.
CHP says shortly after taking off from Montgomery Field just before noon on Tuesday, the pilot and passenger noticed the plane having mechanical problems in the Del Mar area. They were on scene but declined to comment.
I tried to land the plane in a nearby field, but was unable to and landed in the
southbound lanes of Interstate 5.
CHP says the plane hit 4 cars.
And I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that we just got hit by a plane.
2 people were sent to the hospital with minor injuries.
Anytime a plane lands on a freeway, it's going to be pretty catastrophic. Luckily, it's minor injuries.
You can see a portion of the wing missing and a piece protruding out of the back window of this Audi SUV. Sarah says that she has a few scrapes.
Our clothes in the back are soaked with jet fuel, and there's just glass all through our whole car.
But fortunately, she and her husband are unharmed.
I feel like angels were definitely watching over us today, and we felt really blessed and grateful.
The FAA is here on scene and investigating this emergency landing.
In Afghanistan tonight, time is running out when it comes to making sure Americans and allies are safely out of the country.
President Biden says the U.S. will not extend the August 31st deadline to finish the U.S.-led evacuation. The president listened to requests from G7 allies this morning to move back the deadline.
The number one condition we're setting as G7 is that they've got to guarantee right the way through August the 31st and beyond a safe passage.
President Biden has asked the Pentagon for a contingency plan if the deadline cannot be met. The U.S. military says it is sending a flight out of Kabul every 45 minutes. So far, more than 70,000 U.S. citizens and other allies have been evacuated.
Among those desperately trying to get out of Afghanistan are 23 students from El Cajon. Cajon Valley School District officials say they went with their families to visit relatives over the summer break when the Taliban took over and the government collapsed. Officials say they are doing all they can to get them all back home.
We are many cultures in El Cajon, but we are one community, standing together, united, trying to help our families feel safe, and most importantly, to get back here safely.
The 23 children are traveling with 6 different families and are scattered around Afghanistan.
Back here at home, local volunteers are helping out a refugee family who just arrived in San Diego this afternoon.
The family fled Afghanistan late last month and bounced around trying to find stable housing until a local agency stepped in and offered an apartment.
News 8's Heather Hope has their story as they begin a new life here.
Well, over a dozen volunteers, a part of the Helping El Cajon Refugees Facebook group, took a couple hours to turn this apartment into a home for an Afghan family just getting to San Diego. Bringing up item by item, from a coffee table to chairs down to lamps and kitchen plates.
Just like a couple.
Volunteers pitch in to help furnish this Lemon Grove apartment for a refugee family of 3 arriving from Sacramento via Washington, D.C. with more family left behind.
So basically whatever they lost, they gained by our hand.
Jill Galante is the organizer of the Helping El Cajon Refugees Facebook group and says the need for little items donated from pillows to washcloths is dire.
In the past, I visited families of 8 that shared 1 towel for 6 months. And that person was a U.S. translator.
The group moved up and down the stairs and set up this apartment for the Afghan family who only left with the clothes on their backs.
They don't have any money to spare. They do not have bed money. They don't have toothpaste money.
Khalid Talabani is of Alliance for African Assistance, which is a resettlement agency helping refugees.
They've been suffering a lot for the last, I would say, couple of years. And they suffer even more when they came to the United States.
Khalid would know since he came to the U.S. from Iraq in 2016 and says it was a struggle to get settled. He will help the families find work.
So they don't have any credit history. They don't have any work history. We help support them financially. We help pay for the rent.
He says what is needed most is housing for refugee families, and that's been the biggest challenge to provide in San Diego.
We've been struggling trying to find an apartment for them.
Rolling out the carpet. Once the refugee family arrived, they did not want to be identified for fear of Taliban retaliation on their family left behind.
I'm happy to be here, but it's still for my family, it's very hard time right now. I fear that somehow the Taliban might know their identity. They know that they are related to me.
The father of a 1-year-old girl has been in the U.S. since late July and hopes to become an accountant.
At least I can ensure a good future for them, for my child especially.
If you'd like to learn more information or help donate with the Helping El Cajon Refugees Facebook group, we posted it on our website, cbs8.com. Heather Hope, News 8.
Right, Heather, thanks. Tonight, more than 13,000 firefighters are battling a dozen large wildfires up in Northern California. The Dixie Fire has burned more than 730,000 acres and has destroyed more than 1,200 structures across 5 counties between Chico and Reno. It is now 41% contained. And the Caldor Fire, burning east of Sacramento, has grown to nearly 118,000 acres with 632 structures destroyed. Containment there remains at just 9%.
It was an exciting day today for the new Midcoast trolley extension.
Today, local transportation leaders were the first passengers to ride the UCSD Blue Line all the way to UTC. They say the 11-mile extension will help make San Diego more accessible for decades to come. This Saturday, the public can hop on for free test rides between the Old Town and the new Tecolote, Balboa, and Claremont stations. Full service begins on November 21st.